was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer, and that ultimately led me onto a path of wanting to understand how to heal my body in a holistic way. As I started going through
fix my broken rib? Are you a bone healer?
I'm not a bone healer, but yeah. And as I was like starting to take care of my body and eating right, I really started to feel a lot better, as so many people will say, right? Mm-hmm. You feel better. And when I started feeling better, I became obsessed. I will say that. Like, I became obsessed with it for a little bit. But ultimately, I think that I had to go through that diagnosis and all of that. And it led me to want to learn more about the body, health and wellness, and coaching specifically. And through that process of learning all of this information from some of the top leaders in the health and wellness space, I discovered that I was in this toxic, abusive marriage, and that a lot of the things that I feel like I was not able to heal through or feel better about were coming from this underlying stress in my life.
You gave me cancer, you asshole.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, if that's, and I say this all the time, I'm like, if that's what it took. What kind of cancer
you have? Husband cancer.
Husband cancer, yes. Yeah. Narcissistic cancer.
Right.
Yeah. And as I started to really find myself through this process and what, it looked like beyond the body and the physical and all of that, and kind of tapped into this emotional and mental and spiritual place, and deciding that I was going to have to get out of that relationship in order to maybe fully understand myself in new ways, I discovered that how many other people are out here that have these, health issues or things like that maybe, could become healed, or at least better to, have people live a healthy lifestyle that's not just so doom and gloom like at least what I was used to.
Yeah, a lot of it, we hear from early on, don't focus so much on the physical or the outside, it's on the inside that matters. Well, the physical does affect the inside.
Yes.
It's inside out. How you feel about yourself physically is going to trickle down to a lot of things. It's going to, some people just spend the whole winter inside, and especially in the last year.
Oh my gosh, yes.
This is, the people that are out there now, we've noticed, I've talked about this in our live Great Love debate shows. They're awesome. But there's a lot of people who still have not come back out. That's your personal choice or whatever. But you are really causing emotional, mental, all kinds of harm to yourself because you're trapping yourself inside your own probably unhealthy body.
1,000,000%. I think a lot of what COVID, 2020 and even still today, we're still dealing with all of this. But specifically 2020, that's kind of what fueled my passion into really stepping out of my comfort zone and talking about this stuff a lot more, is because I found that, overcoming and discovering and processing through my own traumas, and then also now living in a time where this is going to create trauma within our body just because of what you just said. Like, we're locked in our house, we have to wear masks, we have to do all of these things, and we're just like compounding all of this shit onto people that are already
going a year plus, seeing 90% less smiles and expressions and things than we are used to. That's got to take its toll. And I'm not saying it's irreparable, and I'm not saying that things, we have to be aware of it though. You can't just be like, oh well, it's this, it's that, or whatever. You have to understand that the things you are missing eventually are going to manifest itself in different ways down the road, and you don't know. So you have to think about it now. What were the things that I missed out during this period that I need to do more of? It could just be sunshine. It could be social interact. It could be physical touch. It could be a lot of these things. Make that kind of list, People don't, they're like, I'll be fine when it's over. Well, I don't know.
What if it never is over? I mean, what are you going to do, right?
At some point, you got to make a choice. Yeah. This show's not over, but because we got a lot more to talk about. I got to take a quick break, and we will be back right after this. And we are back. I'm here with Angela Marie from The Focus Within, and we are talking about how to heal ourselves. We sell hope here at the Great Love Debate, and a lot of hope starts with healing. What were signs looking back that you were in a bad relationship that you, while you were in it or before you got to the point that you just kind of overlooked? Were there things that you're just like, well, that seems normal because it's all I ever know? And until a lot of people don't know until they get in a good relationship what a good relationship feels like.
Yeah.
They like, this feels like I'm in a relationship, but they don't, it's a big difference, right?
Yeah. Looking back and I just got back from vacation with my sisters and we were talking all about this stuff. And I'm like, looking back, gosh, there were so many red flags that were already there. I mean, this person we met, went to jail, like just within the first month of knowing each other, gets out of jail. And I'm a single mom at this point, right? And I think at that point I was just so scared to be a single mom. I had been dealing with a lot of other things, dabbling in recreational drugs, and I was just really not in a good place. And so here came this knight in shining armor to kind of come and take me and my children and ride off into the sunset. And I remember it was like within the first literally 2 months of knowing each other, he had gone to jail for a month, then he didn't have a place to come. So then he moved in with me and my 2 children, and my whole family is like, what are you doing?
So somebody did say something.
Oh, yeah. And, I just think, again, when it comes specifically to narcissism, and I know that that's a very trendy word for people to use, but it's a very real thing.
It is.
And I think at that time I was just in a really low and vulnerable place that it could have been anybody coming in, and I wouldn't have had no self-awareness as to what feels safe, what feels,
Well, what was your answer to them when they're like, wait, where is he right now? He's in jail, but he'll be back. like what was your answer? They questioned it, and how would you excuse
it was, this is my life and I'm going to do what I want to do. I was 25 years old, right?
Yeah. He's amazing.
He's amazing. And, he's great with my kids and whatever else would have happened. And as time progressed, I found myself honestly being almost alienated from my own family. There was just always a lot of tension. He was very much an individual who had to have his point known, and he was always right, and all again, these narcissistic traits. And as I was going through this process of getting cancer and then getting healthy, and then as I was starting to get healthy and want to take care of myself better, he was threatened by that. It was a threat to him.
Was he supportive while you were sick?
He was, but he was supportive through that process, I guess, as supportive as he could have been. There was a lot of confusion and gray area. I mean, truly, even looking back, I'm like, did I have cancer? I know that I went, I spent 3 years going to see an oncologist and do all of this stuff. But in hindsight, I'm like, I think it might have just been husband cancer, like you said. I don't know. Yeah, I think it was the stress.
Yeah.
So as I started becoming healthier, and, it's funny, I was joking with my sisters, it's like to look at where I am today. And, I've since remarried and have a really great relationship, but to be here with you today or having my own podcast, it's just such a different place from where I was. These things would not have happened in that relationship.
And how did you make yourself turn the corner, or was there an identifiable moment, or it was just kind of slowly over time you got to a point where you could feel that way?
Yeah, it was slowly over time. So I know, behind the scenes, the stuff that I was doing, not everybody knew about. So when I did decide that I was ready to leave, it was kind of a shock to a lot of people.
Yeah.
My kids, him, my family, but behind the scenes and doing a lot of this work that I'm here to help lead and facilitate with the women that I work with, and becoming a healthy and whole person, and however that fits into where you are in your life right now and meeting you there. And, I decided, that at that time, that day, whatever it was, I really just decided that I had enough. I was
right.
I cannot continue to live this lifestyle that I'm now creating, that I've now been living for the past several years, and still have this person that's not supporting me through this next version of myself. And I think that that's so key in relationships, right? Is to, we're all changing and growing and all of that. And to have somebody that's there to help support you and encourage you to do that, you know?
It's you keep kicking and when you're in a bad relationship, you keep kicking the can down the road. I was in this relationship for a long time where when it started, 7 days of the week, it was good and she was good. And then it was 6, then it was 5, and then over time, and then maybe it got down to 1. But that 1 was like, it's still possible. She was great on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And it's such a tease because you think like that's going, because it used to be the normal, so you knew what it was, and you still see that it exists. So this false hope that is going to come back around, and that just goes on and on and on.
It's a cycle that does it ever end? I mean, it ended when I left.
It's easier if they're completely terrible.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, especially the narcissists, like they know how to manipulate it to flicker that light on, like it's all going to come back and it's going to be fine. And that's what leads to the justification and the excuses and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first time you shared your story to somebody or you opened up? Because part of this, a lot of people will go through when a relationship fails or a marriage fails. It's embarrassment, it's shame, it's what I do wrong. And to be able to say like, here's what happened. Because everybody's going to be like, oh my God, how come you didn't know? I can't believe you did that. There's so much judgment. So be able to sort of stand there and own it. Was there a time, how long did that take?
Yeah, it was, I was in therapy, even before I made that decision. We were both in therapy together. And I remember, this is kind of a crazy thing, but I just remember sitting in the therapist's office with him at the time. And, we're paying money to be here. We're trying to save our marriage. And literally he looks at the counselor and was like tattletaling on me because I was chewing gum and I was not allowed to chew gum because it was disrespectful. And it might have even been that moment that I was like, is this a joke, right? Like, we're here about all this other stuff and you want to talk about gum chewing? Like, I have to go. This is too much. Bye. But I did continue on in therapy and started working with a woman that I had on my own podcast last week that is a psychotherapist that specializes in trauma and really started to work through the trauma in a very somatic way to help release that energy from within me. So I don't know if there was like a time when I was like, this is my story and I'm sticking. I think I'm living that right now. I think I'm actually
you're
in
right.
that place.
You're here on a microphone. Tens of thousands of people are going to hear you. I get that. Trauma can go back to the womb. Something can happen in utero that
a million
freaked. There's a lot of things. So it's really, easy for somebody to say like, oh, it was that time they got held up at gunpoint and freaked them out and they went to Iraq or something. There's that. But it's a lot of times it's not so easily identifiable.
Yeah.
And when we bring these in and you think, I'm ready to date, I'm ready to meet somebody, you're just trying to get, you're certainly not focusing on your trauma, while you're ordering the shrimp.
Yeah.
And you're trying to be pleasant and you're trying to get to know this person. And then you start hitting that ping pong ball back and forth and it's 1 date, 2 dates, 3 dates. And then you're like, I'm fine, or this feels good, and it should feel that way. That is a good thing. But at some point, if it is not resolved, and I'm not saying everybody's got to do all the work, I'm not one of those people who believes in, somebody's a whole person. I think the best we can do is get ourselves about 80% there, and the right person will create the environment to bring us the rest of the way.
Yeah.
I think that's a real thing. Yeah. So you can do things simultaneously, is do the work, try to heal, try to get over the trauma, try to identify what you need to do better, drink a lot more water, and then try and find somebody who has that environment that all of those things will matter.
Yeah. And it's, I think, I don't know if listeners or whoever would think like, I don't just sit at home and meditate all day long and do all of these things to heal my trauma. I'm still living my life, right? And I live by the 80-20 rule, no matter what it is, whether it's food, all of that stuff. I love food. I love, the things that I love, and I'm never going to stop myself from doing some of those things. But I think when you are just in that space and wanting to better yourself, that you automatically without you even knowing, I feel like you start attracting the right type of people to come walk alongside you, whether that is a friendship or a mentor or a romantic relationship. I think when you